Welcome back to G-Ball Vision, everyone. Thank you for stopping in. Today, we have another episode of Blade Chronicles for you. Before we dive in, double check and make sure you are subscribed here to the channel. I'd love to have you hit that thumbs up button. It really helps push the video out there so more people have a chance to check it out. Let me know what you're carrying in your pocket today down in the comments. And let us know if you are new to the channel down in the comments. Love meeting new people that are just coming to the channel or just recently came to the channel. Love hearing from the new people. So what is the topic for the Blade Chronicles today? And if you're not familiar, Blade Chronicles is a series where we can talk about different points, different talking points, whether it's news related, in the knife world in general, whether it's a comment from someone, a question from someone, who knows what it could be. But that's the idea, the availability of these videos and what we can do within them. So today we're talking about what is the draw to knife collecting. There's certain people, or there's people who sit back and look at us knife collectors like, what's the big deal? What's the point? So I want to dive into all of that stuff and talk about why I was drawn into knife collecting and the community, and what other things have drawn me in to keep me in and keep me going, right? So I always knew about the utility factor in knives, and that's why I always had one with me. And I always had a couple, but buying knives and collecting knives are two totally different things. Someone can buy knives and just have a few, and there's other people who, have lots and lots of knives, and that is their goal, or they have quite a bit of more high-end knives, right? But even a few knives like this would be a small collection, right? Either which way, one of the first draws for me was I wanted to get a good pocket knife that was in some decent materials that I could have for a very long time. And behind getting that knife, realizing that the materials this knife came in were really premium materials, only to find out via a video on YouTube that the materials are really good, really premium materials, but there's better materials out there. There's different locking mechanisms out there, different ways to, open the knife, and multiple ways to open some knives, right? And that was something that drew me in initially, was the idea behind finding out more information on these better materials, these better knives. That was a huge draw. And then once that started, it was finding out that there's more than just a back lock and the occasional liner lock. There's frame locks, there's button locks, there's crossbar locks, just a ton of different locking systems. Then, and Spyderco with the compression lock and their ball bearing lock, and it's endless, right? Then it's like, well, I want to try different locks with different opening methods, right? So you have a ton of just flipper knives you could buy. If you wanted a flipper in every lock, right, then you're talking different blade shapes that you want to check out, and it just spirals from there. Well, I want to try one of this. Oh, I want to try some knives from this company. Then you find a company you really like, and it's like, well, I want to get all their knives, and it just starts to spiral. So that draw for me came from the idea that there's better materials that continue to get better. They get crispier, right? Just more refined. And all the while knowing that knives are an awesome thing to get into because they're a tool, the ultimate tool, right? So the utilitarian factor was always there for me, but that was kind of something that solidified it for me, was I'm not just collecting something useless that doesn't have no use case, right? And we'll talk about that here in a moment, but knives have a lot of different abilities that can cover an extremely wide range of tasks, right? Whether it's extremely lightweight knives for backpacking and that sort of thing, whether it's your day to day, just everyday cutter, whether it's your hard use work knife, whether it's your gentleman carry, whatever it might be. They all have different uses, and the designers all have different intents for the knife, right? So that was a huge draw for me. And then as you get a collection going, and as I got my collection going, the next draw for me was the design and how much it resembled to me, and how fascinating it is that you can have this tool that is so useful in so many ways. And for the people who don't know, there's the people who say knives are for cutting only. Well, I hate to break the news to you, but knives throughout history have been used for more than just cutting. Uh, Now, that's entirely up to you to decide what to do with your knives. Do I do a whole lot of things with my knife that isn't just cutting? 95% of the time, that's what I'm doing. But there are times I'll use it as a screwdriver or a little pry tool, or what. I know what the knife can and can't handle typically, right? But knives have been used for a wide range of things. For a very, very long time. So they have a huge utilitarian factor to them and a huge aesthetic draw to knives, right? There's different materials out there. Just the subtle change between these carbon fibers. Both of them are beautiful, but very, very different. It's like, well, I wouldn't mind experiencing, all the carbon fibers that are out there, right? And it can get out of hand very quickly, the whole idea behind collecting knives. But the design was a huge draw, and how well made a knife can really be. There's well made, and then there's well made. Like this knife is, for all intents and purposes, it's well made, 20, $30. But this knife is is well made, right? The Arnaud Bernard I Mamba, Synapse XL, the Parallel, the Cassowary, Banter, the DT03, and then this is the Olatin's G22, I think, or something like that. Doesn't matter. But for anyone wondering, those are the knives on the table with the I Mamba here. But that is something that recently has drawn me into knives, and what ultimately made me start up my channel. Not only did I have a huge love for knives and trying out different ones, but I started to fall in love with the design idea and the art behind the knife, and what was the designer's idea for the knife, that sort of thing. And it's really cool to see from a small folder all the way up to a large fixed blade. So another thing that will keep you around is eventually you might get into a role where you want to try certain knives, but maybe if you don't end up liking the design or the lock or whatever it might be, you can ultimately, if it's a taken care of knife, get money back for the knife. No, you might not always recoup all your money. It might only be half. It might be less than half. It might be more than you paid. It's all going to depend. But the cool thing is they all retain some value. And even a knife that maybe don't cost a ton could even still be used in a trade or used as a barter item or something like that, right? So that idea behind the knife world and knife collecting, sits really well with me. I know that I'm going to be able to get something of value back for the knife, whether it's money or a different tool or what have you, right? So that's something that can keep you intertwined with the knife community. And lastly, what will keep you here, even if you aren't buying a ton of knives, which is fine. Nobody is expecting or wanting that. To be buying knives every day, every week, that's not necessary and is not needed. If you got the money for it, shoot, go ahead, bud. But don't bury yourself, cripple yourself in debt to try to keep up with the latest trends and that sort of thing. There's always going to be new trends. There's always going to be more. So it's not a worry that if you miss something, it's going to come back around. You'll be just fine. I just wanted to throw that in there. But the thing that will inevitably anchor you to the knife community, if you come in, if you take a step in to the knife community and realize that it's here, the people will keep you here. Knife community is 95% made up of good to amazingly wonderful people. There's a few bad eggs out there. There always will be in every community. But for the overwhelming majority of the people in the knife community are all awesome people. Many would give you the shirt off their back to try to help you out. And that's something that will, if for nothing else, you will stick around, not for the knives, but for the people that you come into contact with here. That's going to be the driving force behind everything, is the people, how you're treated, and that sort of thing. And that is what is ultimately going to keep me here and keep you here as well. And that's one thing I've always tried to do here, is create that kind of atmosphere. I want there to be a place for everyone. People that have been around for a long time in the community, or just around knives, period, for a long time, around the channel for a long time, and people who just got into knives, that just got introduced to the knife community, that just got introduced to my channel. I want there to be a place for everyone. I want it to be a welcoming place, because that's what, the knife community, the knife world is all about. And that's one thing I really try to encourage around here, is that family aspect, right? So if you're new here and afraid to drop something in the comments, a question or just a comment, whatever, go ahead and do it, because you'll definitely be welcomed from me and from many others as well. Forgot to mute my phone. But let me know what you think of the latest edition of Blade Chronicles. Why do you collect knives if you do? I love hearing from you. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Always appreciate that. If you're new here, I release knife and EDC content every single day. Hit that subscribe button, ring the little bell. I'd love to have you here. I'll put up a couple of new videos. Go check one of them out. Have yourself an awesome day. Thank you again for watching. I will catch you on the next one.